April?
Ah, there I am.
There you are.
Well,
I can hear you. My picture keeps going up.
what's going up?
Could I make you the host? I don't know if I can. Just to let people in, because I just need to go look at something at the school. I'm gonna make you co-host.
Yeah, that works.
And that way you should be able to let people in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Like your outfit.
See you in a few minutes. And if it doesn't work, text me. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'll take it out of the right account. Okay. company? And it worked?
It worked great. Linda's here.
Hi,
Here's Linda.
Um,
I need to
you
unmute myself.
said there was, oh, I can't hear you.
I should be good. Am I good?
You're so good.
Okay.
Now I can. Maybe my ears weren't working. Ay, ay, ay.
You know, see how long I can stay out on the porch if it gets too cold.
Ooh, yeah, it's nippy today.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do one other thing. Want to get the latest.
What?
You guys are still there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just gonna get the latest Survey Monkey report.
Okay.
It's so amazing how the percentages haven't really changed at all.
It seems people are pretty clear about what they want
Yeah,
or feel comfortable with.
yeah.
So how much person power are we going to need to make this happen? Like
Um,
a lot.
I have. Well, give me a location, and then I can work on that answer. Hi, Elaine.
Exactly. Now I was imagining out in the field.
I think we, the Board of Health is going to have people.
No, I read their concerns. Did Elaine get a haircut?
Did you, Elaine? Can we hear Elaine?
No, she's muted.
Does she? Are you keeping her that way? April.
I tried. Oh, shit, she got away.
April's been in charge. I ran.
I
So
noticed.
I'm
She's
muting.
always in charge.
Down low.
How low can you go?
Down low. So low.
Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. Excuse
Hey.
me, I'm in my daughter's bedroom because John wants to play music, and I thought this was a better place. So you can see all my trophies,
Oh.
Wow.
all my
And your
running
wedding
posters. Oh, turn a light
That's
up.
cool.
And Hank and I are hanging out on the porch. Alan's working, I think. He's seeing clients in the bedroom. I never thought of that. It's what's happening here. We're both seeing clients in the bedroom.
It must have been a very punchy day for you today, April.
Hey,
Oh, Lord.
no. I've got my retirement is getting closer. It's no later than October 1st. And if they hire somebody before then, I'm out of there.
Not a bad racket.
Mm-mm. We don't need much. Oh, so Becky took it over.
Becky took it over.
Can I can't mute you? Sorry. Oh, I did. I just muted you. I can't.
So I will put Melissa as the host. Right now, April's been the co-host, so because I had to run out. Here's
It's only
Melissa.
5:30 now.
Perfect.
Yeah, there we go. It's always
Hello.
practice.
I was
Hi,
just gonna
Melissa.
say, where's Paul? And poof, he shows up.
You must not have been
Nice.
out mowing the lawn today. You look clean. Ready for takeoff.
It looks like that, doesn't it?
It does.
He's muted.
All right, I'm gonna just pull up the my other screen here. Hold on one sec. Whoops, wrong one. This one. Go over here. Okay, I'm all set. Are we all ready?
Yep.
Yes.
Paul, would you like to unmute yourself?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Okay. So let's call ourselves to order. Do we have any additional items for the agenda, Becky, that popped up in any way since the agenda was created?
The only possibility,
Yeah.
Elaine,
I'd like to put on the agenda that I would like to start the creation of a letter that comes from the select board and the police department concerning the issues that we know of that exist around racial disparities, et cetera, and how we're dealing with it and
I
what
think-
our thoughts are. And I would like to just have a little quick discussion of that.
Okay.
Yep. I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Where am I?
And Becky?
I just want to say that we need to finish by 6:45 so that it's going to take a little bit to get the finance committee all logged in.
Okay.
So if we can try to be done by 6:45, that'll be helpful to the rest of the evening for me.
Sure.
Great.
I'll do what Elaine did at that meeting. I always have a timer so that I don't have to worry about looking at the clock. So I'll set it for 6:40. How does that sound?
Perfect.
Good.
All right. So here we go. We'll try that.
There's the warrant.
All right. So shall we, does anyone have any public comment? Paul or Catherine? Susie?
No.
No? Anybody else? Okay. Shall we start with the topic of annual town meeting?
Could I just report on the latest survey results?
Oh, please. Yes.
Okay, just as of right now, we had 198 responses. The first question is, are you attending annual town meeting? We have 124 yes and 74 no.
Okay.
As the second question, would you be comfortable meeting inside a building in an appropriately controlled social distancing setting? Yes are 70, no is 129.
Is that,
And
excuse me, is that sorted by the ones who actually said they were coming?
no,
So we have more people who answered that question that are actually coming.
yes. But they would reserve the right to change their mind, I think.
Mhm.
Is there a way to sort the information into those that answered all three questions? Or that said they were coming and then which one they preferred? I don't remember how SurveyMonkey works.
He answered all the questions.
We asked people to answer all questions and we didn't ask them for a preference, one or the other.
Okay.
And I guess that wouldn't have helped with Elaine's question because we would have had people stop if they said no.
Uh-huh.
And then just have the people who said yes go continue, and we didn't do that.
That's fine. Because they might change their mind. We would, you know.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's one
Okay.
more question.
Mhm.
Question 3, would you be comfortable meeting out of doors in a large open area with appropriately controlled social distancing? We have 169 yes and 29 no. And the percentages have been almost the same since the very beginning. First 3 votes kind of set up, a 1/3 to 2/3. People are coming, and 1/3 would be okay to meet indoors, but the majority of people would be comfortable out of doors. That's the survey report.
Okay. So given those options, it looks like the majority of people want to be outside, but some people feel okay to be inside. Elaine, I know we had discussed a hybrid of both. And Catherine had given her ideas from the Board of Health. Does anybody have any preferences either way yet, or suggestions to start our conversation?
Curious about the logistics of having it having it outside. You know, I think that's going to be a lot of work. Having it inside would be a lot of work. Is it possible to do both? You know, what are we going to need to do to be able to let that happen if we were to offer both?
That's a good.
Okay, I think it depends on location. I think we had talked about potentially the school being, if we use the school gym, it will be potentially an indoor space, but I think it's going to be very difficult with the distance between the outdoor field and the gym is quite a hike. So that's one concern I have about the school. My other concern, well, the other only potential area I think is the field behind Town Hall. And there would be a small, potentially small inside space that would later be used for election workers. If it's a hot afternoon, Susie's concerned she doesn't want election workers out under the sun for, 6-8 hours of the day.
Well, for the election setup, I think we should think about having some tents so there's some shade, because they're the ones that would be outside longest without being able to just, if they need to reprieve and to take a break, right? Susie, is that one?
Yeah, and pop-up tents, it's difficult to arrange the shade because of the angle of the sun. And so you could be working on that, but I am concerned, even if you had shade and it's June 27th, it could be a hot day. And oftentimes the workers that do the tallying, I'm gonna set up for them to come later in the day. They wouldn't be there all 8 hours, but I suddenly became pretty concerned about if we were really hot, then I would say take the ballot box up to Town Hall and count there and have air conditioners going. That's not actually legal. You're supposed to count in the space where you were voting, but I thought maybe we'd have a police escort for the ballot box, because at some point it's about the people, not always the teeny details.
Right. So if we were to have the town meeting entirely in the upper field, as was proposed by the Board of Health, the election would be taking place in the gym. Is that correct? No, that's always going to be,
Well.
okay. So that will be up at Town Hall.
No,
that's going to be in the field.
yeah.
It's in
Well,
the same location, I believe, right, Susie?
Yeah, I saw it as more on the beginning of the road that goes back to the field, not in the field. But yeah, just thinking of the logistics, it's all difficult, especially if town meeting got canceled. Here we are posted to be at the outside of the school. Well, oh well.
We're hardy folk.
So Marianne and I measured the field behind Town Hall and the field behind the school. The field behind the school has the advantage of being flat. The field behind Town Hall is it's 29,000 square feet, so it's about 4,000 square feet larger. And that's not counting some nooks and shadier areas.
But you also have the issue of parking. There will be no parking at Town Hall, not enough parking for everybody. Where are they going to park?
My reference would be, we've got, around the town common in the church, just like yesterday, for the vigil, a lot of people parked in areas around town. And there would be more walking in from the highway department and Lotto 32. And we'd reserve the back of town hall for elderly people and people who can't walk as far. Because we're gonna have to accommodate people who cannot walk as well at the school as well. And I don't know, Marianne was, we're thinking of RVs, or not RVs, but
Golf carts.
golf carts and
ATVs.
yeah, quads.
I'm sure a few people in town have a quad or two hanging around.
Yep. And my mom has a golf cart. I don't know how I'd get it here. I'm not gonna drive it here.
No.
We could have a tractor parade.
Well, there's a bucket on the front of the loader, right? So you can put people.
You could put them in the back of the town truck.
All right. So we're solved.
Fire truck.
So you think that the back of town hall is a better choice?
Well, it gets us around the illegal aspect of voting where in a different place than we're counting votes. I mean, we can set up the election here easily.
And we also have the advantage of cell service
Right.
at town hall that we don't have at the school.
That's right.
And internet.
Right.
Is there internet access out on the field?
The guest goes a little, we just got a booster. It goes about a quarter of the way down. Not real far, but it's beyond the picnic tables.
Okay.
So it might be beneficial to have the front, the head of the meeting where the officials are, being closer to the cars in the parking lot so that they at least have internet reception.
And then, but the other thought is, because of the slope, you might want the presenters down below. I'm not sure. Because in stadiums, the seating is up high and you have what you're looking at down below.
Is it possible that we could maybe get a booster for the
Yep.
day so that we could have reception all the way through? Because I can see people, George has always wanted, when he was on FinCom, would always want internet access to pull up any sheets that he had and everything. So we would definitely need a booster for that.
Okay, I can work on that. And I know our sound system that we have worked pretty well here. And if we need to get auxiliary for the left and the right side, we can do that.
Okay.
I think Walter has a sound system too, right, Walter?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we have here a 800 watt stereo sound system with speakers with a mixing board if we need it.
The question, would the town hall restrooms be able to handle that amount of people? Actually using them?
There's two downstairs. And Board of Health found out you can use a porta potty. So if we felt the capacity needed, I think people are pretty adverse to public toilets in general. So having something, but I don't know how much capacity you have to worry about.
But I'll check out getting a porta potty.
We get
I think-
one of the ones that is
Handicap.
in the money that's upgraded so that it has water.
Okay,
Well, the town hall ones are handicap accessible, so that's good.
yeah,
I'm just thinking, having been a person that has used the Santa Can at Civil War reenactments, it is easier to have a little extra space, even if you're not handicapped. So if they give you an option.
so we'd want the handicap.
Option.
And I think we're gonna have to look at getting one for the lake too. Right, Catherine?
What, for the boat launch?
Yeah,
Because why?
Because we put a sign on the one down there for people not to use it.
True, but you know, I think the same rules would apply. You can have that kind of thing if it's sanitized, and it would be legal if it was sanitized daily. And I think the rule would be the same for the composting toilet and for a porta
Okay.
potty. So why not just
Good to know.
sanitize the one we have?
Okay. I don't know if we can sanitize
I
them.
think, well, the porta potties work differently. They put a sanitizer in the collection spot. And there's a chemical in there that is active, and I don't think that is true of the composting toilet.
Presumably not.
We haven't heard from Paul.
Nothing to say yet.
We have to have an opinion, Paul.
Well, we talking about just the venue now?
Yeah.
Well, I've got concerns about wherever we decide to have it. And you know, I don't know. I think it's really a select board decision. And, you know, I'm happy to just make do with whatever you folks decide. Because, you know, we don't have a perfect option.
No.
No, we certainly don't.
And to your point of if there's an electrical storm or something comes up, what we can do is, as long as 9 people are there, it's a quorum, and we immediately vote to continue the meeting at another date.
Yeah.
Which we should probably try to choose either the Monday, the 29th, or the Tuesday, the 30th.
Yeah.
If Paul's available.
As far as I know, I don't have any plans at the time, you know, the present time. So
Yes, the 30th.
so would this be part of the actual, you know, a rain date would go out in the posting for the warrant?
Yes.
Okay.
The only other thing that would be a concern, though, for Monday or Tuesday that we'd have to consider is that we then would have to have lighting, because we would have it at night. So
Mosquitoes.
we'd have to rent lighting.
Well,
So-
if we have it at 5:30, it's been light till 8.
30.
That's
So we
right.
might get away with it. But we have a lot more electricity available here at Town Hall than we do at the school.
Right.
So it sounds like our location is starting to become the town hall as our first choice.
And are we thinking that if it was at Town Hall, we would set up an interior space in like the senior lounge or the main downstairs room for those people that need a blended solution?
If we can get authority to have the town meeting, you know, either zoomed in or if we can do it by speaker.
Natalie told me that it did not go through the Senate bill or the House bill, I think it was, when it went out of the House. All those provisions that they had did not include the question of whether we could have it in multiple spaces like we had originally spoke about at the school. And so she was going to lobby to get it in, but I have not heard from her since last Friday as to whether she got anywhere with that.
Yeah, and I heard back from Joe Comerford's office, and Jared was reported that he was pushing it through. I talked to John Robertson at MMA, and he was, you know, trying to lobby for us as well. But I did not get final word either. I don't think it happened.
Right. So I mean, we can't do it until they say we can.
But if we can string a speaker into that room, we can still make sure that if people want to be indoors for whatever reason, they have an option.
Just like when it was in the library and
Yep.
in the main gym, right? That's
Yep.
the same thing.
It is, but do we know that that was legal? I know we did it, but do we know that that was legal?
Ask for forgiveness,
Always
not
easy to ask
permission.
Forgiveness after, right?
That's right.
Sorry.
Exactly.
I think there is something about you can do that.
We've done that a number of times.
I've never seen it written or know that it is legal.
I've never seen it written it wasn't.
But I guess what you're doing in that case is you're listening, but then people were coming back into the gym to vote.
Yep.
They were not voting remotely.
No.
Oh, I don't remember. I'd have to ask Joan Hanson. She would remember that part.
Paul has his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that there's some interesting discussion on the moderators forum today about, I think it was the town of Lexington, who just decided to go ahead with a Zoom town meeting, even before the legislature had approved that as an option, with the understanding that it probably is going to be approved eventually, and it'll be retroactive to cover the towns that felt they had no other option and they just absolutely had to go ahead with it. So so they had the first of, I think, their 3 nights of their town meeting via Zoom, which is many different spaces, obviously. And they feel pretty confident that they're on solid ground for that.
Do you know if they did voting in that situation?
I'm quite sure they did. I think they would have had to. I don't know all the details since it's all brand new. I mean, literally it happened last night and we haven't got all the details about how it worked yet.
How did they vote?
But interrupt for 1 second. Dan's just come to the meeting. Dan?
He's muted.
I know. So is Walter. Walter, do you want to be muted?
I can unmute myself anyways.
All right. Okay, go ahead.
That would be interesting. I mean, how they voted on Zoom with, do you have any understanding of how many people actually attended?
I do not. And again, all the details will be coming out very soon. I'm not proposing that we do a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I think the issue about, being in separate locations is probably a non-issue.
Okay, so we can move ahead with setting that up in the senior lounge. Or depending, yeah. Probably have space for about 9 people.
Are we concerned that maybe depending on the heat, it might be an idea to think about that space or as a cooling space too, if anyone becomes overheated? Okay.
Yeah, we'll move the air conditioners into the 2 windows downstairs. Well, hopefully Chris will help set up.
No.
He'll say, he says yes. That don't. Yeah.
It was your dog talking.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Another concern I had was maybe people should bring their own chairs to this. We can mark out where the spaces are out on the field. But if people brought their own chairs, I think this is going to be a lot of work. And so the question is, who will do all this work?
Yes.
And so engaging the citizenry to understand that they can have a part in this. So I was thinking about the chairs for that situation. People can bring your own chair.
Yeah,
What plenty of old soccer coaches that could come and mark the field, I'm sure.
Well, what about people bringing their own sun umbrellas or thing? Because there's not going to be shade.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Maybe the note on the bottom should say, bring weather appropriate gear, sunscreen, water,
I
just
thought we weren't going to do any kind of food or drink.
telling them to bring in their own.
But so that people didn't have to take their masks off.
Phew.
You can't say they can't have water. I mean, it's going to be hot and you're in the sun.
People need water breaks.
And if they maintain 6-foot spacing, you can take your mask off. Mask is for when you cannot maintain 6-foot spacing.
That's correct.
And this is an outside venue, so you have air circulation and flow between each person.
Okay,
I mean, you can always suggest that they wear their mask, but they could take their mask off long enough to take a drink of water and put it back on.
Or make sure to have straws.
Mhm.
Maybe you can do it under your mask. Anybody test that out yet?
No.
we could. So it sounds like having people mark out each square socially distanced, that's one task. Asking people to bring their own, seating arrangements that would help, but I don't think everybody's going to do that. So we're going to have to offer some chairs for some people. And people should bring their own sun umbrellas and things. This will be like the Green River Festival.
Like the beach on grass.
That's right. And we get to sing.
And
I
there's
did like the Board of Health put in there, or Catherine put in her response to us, the blankets and such, as a visual marker. And I think that's a good idea.
We were actually imagining that the only marked space on the ground in any venue would basically be one-way aisles down and up. And we would actually have the way they're doing in churches now, where an usher takes you, puts you where you're going to be, marks off the space for you. People can delineate it with a blanket or something. If they have kids, that would be ideal. If they have to bring the kids, and then the people will stay there, right? Instead of letting people just plunk down wherever they want, bring them right up to the front, fill from the front to the back, right? So that there won't be lots of passing and coming and going. People will be put where they're going to be.
Yeah, that's true. Because the husband and wife will come and they'll want to sit together, and they should be able. They don't have to social distance.
Right. So for each party, the usher person, and Garrett said he would do that, and I can do that as well. Bring them, as a unit, whether it's a single person, a family, a couple, and put them where we want them to be, and make sure that they are seated sufficiently separate from the people around them. It'll take a little extra time,
Yeah.
but it's the safe way to do it.
Could we have folding chairs available for people who didn't bring anything?
Yes, we have folding chairs in the downstairs lounge that we can make available if people need them.
So what happens if somebody is not following the rules? I mean, if somebody does bring a child and that child is not being contained.
Arlene Reed said that she would be very willing to wear an identification vest or badge or whatever and be present to negotiate that. And I'm assuming that our police will be there too.
So what are your thoughts about it, Dan?
Well, I mean, the specific thing you just talked about, I don't think I'll be chasing small children around a field.
Not yet.
Generally speaking, well, I could eventually in my own life. But I don't know if that's something that we can, we'll definitely be there, and I'll certainly be there to help set up, take down, whatever we need to do, and kind of keep people, heading in the right direction with what directions I'm given. I just, I don't know. I guess you can't tell people not to bring their children. I don't
Right.
know. That's tough.
We'll discourage it. But
We'll
some people won't be able to
we'll
come
just-
if they can't bring the kid.
We'll discourage.
And Paul, I think that what you're going to have to do is every 15 minutes or so, depending on how unruly the crowd might be, just put out a reminder, say, just remember that this is what you need to do to be able to stay at the meeting, and you may be asked to either leave or asked to go to an area closer to the cars where your child is not going to be an issue. I don't know.
Also, there will be at least three people, Board of Health people, wearing vests
Mhm.
and giving instruction, and maybe more. So there will be a sort of public health presence.
Mhm.
Is that enough? I mean, would you
So-
want to have some deputies?
We could conceivably do that.
Catherine, will you be taking temperatures?
I believe that's the plan, yes.
So now if we're going to be if we're going to be behind town hall, that may present some other issues, in terms of how people, because people are going to be parking all over the place, and then walking in. We're going to try to funnel everybody in through one location. I guess we'd have to do that, right? On one side of town hall.
They'll have to be registered in, checked in. They
Where
have-
would you envision the check-in, Susie, if we use town hall?
Well,
We could use the solar panels, if we use like police tape in there, is that too far up? And so that you'd keep open the side, the western side, and have check-in under tents right in front of that area, like you were planning to do at the school.
Mhm.
And then we could use the rest for parking. And then we could close off the other section. So people can't come in that way, but they could exit that way at the end. We can take the tape down.
Question, where are you envisioning all the cars parking?
Oh, we want to keep behind the school, behind town hall open for elderly people to drive in there and then, and keep a path open and then have people parking at the highway, fire, around the town common, around the church, and along the side roads.
can't they park right on town common? You could organize parking there.
We just need to find where the septic is, but I think that's on the other, yeah, if they park in the front, I think the septic's in the back. Yeah, that could work too.
Ask people to ride their bikes.
Yep, but we could
Okay.
park on
Can
town
I-
common.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we have the hill. Obviously, people are going to be crossing there, so I just want to make sure that we have everything in place there to kind of slow people down if they're going to be crossing across.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Mhm.
Can you get one of those electronic signs for the day?
yes, I can look into that.
And can we
Certainly.
sort of close it off with maybe the way we do at Halloween?
That's a great idea. It works for Halloween. We could probably take the westbound traffic and just divert them up 202.
Wait a minute, the westbound traffic, where are you going to divert them?
Down at 202. That's what we do for Halloween.
Oh, so that they'd go down to Shutesbury Road and,
Yes, or they would go to Amherst Road.
okay.
Yeah. Lincoln Lake.
Are you all set or do you need a minute?
Dan, how many people could you realistically have working that day?
I would say, I mean, right now would be probably a max of 4, maybe 5.
Oh, great.
I think you would need that many.
Yeah, I'm definitely more or less worried. What time is it going to start?
Fine.
Voting starts at 8, town meeting starts at 9, unless we decide to make a different change schedule.
Okay. All right. No, that's fine. No, as long as we don't, yeah, no, that should work. I should be able to get at least 3 people.
So before we get away from the idea of chairs and tents, I just wanted to go back to those for a minute. Are the chairs that we have going to be stable enough out on that very irregular field? Is one question. And secondly, is there an opportunity to have a couple or 3 decent sized tents set up, party type tents that people can retreat under if necessary or be under?
I don't have access to party type tents. I know the Board of Health is just purchased we're working on a 20 by 10 foot tent. Dan said he had one of similar size, but I think if we have tents up along the edges for people, well, the shade will be on the east side, and then the west, if we can set up on the west, tents on the west side for people, we can have, you know, a significant area, enough space for people.
Party tents are they run in the thousands. They're very expensive.
Yeah, most other towns that are having outdoor meetings are planning on big tents. So it would certainly be ideal. So that's out of the question.
It was like $2 grand, $3 grand for the ball. I mean, not out of the question, but.
I do a 20 by 20, and that's all I have.
And I know Mary Ann has 5 tents available to us, and then the Board of Health has. So let's do an inventory and see what it looks like. We can work more on that one, Paul. After tonight, I can tell you exactly, you know, what the full inventory, and then get some pricing about a couple party tents.
Well, and could that be reimbursed through MEMA? You know, as part of the state of emergency, if we had to do that? Is there any way to get money to help with that?
Potentially there is, April, but there's the first round has to be completed by like tomorrow.
Okay.
Of grant
And I
money. So
looked at the information about the party tent last year. We
Yeah.
got those estimates. I can drag that up and see how much that was really, you're right, it was very expensive.
That included dance floors and other
Yeah, but
parts.
she gave me the price for the tent itself.
I think the other thing we need to make sure is people have a visual line of sight uninterrupted by the tents too.
If I can pull that up.
The small tent, relatively small tents are not going to be very efficient at all. I mean, a 10 by 20 tent, you know, you might get 3 family blankets, you know, underneath there at the most. So, you know, I think, you know, a bunch of small tents probably are not worth the effort, in my opinion. And there may also, you know, in terms of party tents, there's probably going to be a lot of competition this year, and you know, prices might be higher. We might not even be able to, you know, to find one, because a lot of towns are postponing their meetings till the end of June, like we are.
Right, and if you only have a bunch of small tents, that's an invitation to get people congregating underneath them.
Right.
Have enough to make a large enough area that people can keep spacing. You just put out a few small tents, everybody's going to congregate on them if it's a hot, sunny day.
And how about the chairs? That was my other question. Are the folding chairs that we have suitable for that space?
We've used them out there before.
Yeah, and we're encouraging people to bring their own chairs. So it's
Right.
not like all of them are going to be out there as folding chairs.
Yeah, I just don't want people falling over out in the field, obviously. So.
What are we hoping for a length for this meeting?
Or
The length of time?
That's a good question. I think we were going to try to bundle things together in the warrant flow so that we could be a little more speedy in at least attempt to be speedy, but depends on what the discussions are, of course.
Because, you know, if we're starting at 9 and we're skipping the dross parts of the meeting, and we're trying to get through quickly, we could conceivably get done before the sun is really high in the sky. And of course, the discomfort of that might encourage people to be brief in their remarks.
that's hoped. Yes.
So most of my notes and what I've been waiting for in this meeting does relate to this, the actual meeting itself. So, and I've got a number of questions about that. you know, I haven't seen the warrant recently. Becky, do you have an updated version of that maybe you could send me
Yeah.
sometime soon?
Yep.
Are we, you know, I think from what I've been hearing, we're going to try to do it all. Is that correct? Because the other option, what a lot of other towns are doing, is just really minimizing their warrant, just dealing with the absolutely necessary, mostly financial items, and then putting off a lot of the more, you know, the things that aren't so critical to a special town meeting later on in the year. Is that, it doesn't sound like we're considering that. Is that right?
Paul, I think the problem is we have 3 zoning amendments that potentially will take a lot of time. And so whether those happen I would assume we're trying to do those at this meeting. And there's some things like the CPC article, they're trying to, you know, have a new bylaw. Is it necessary to do it at this meeting? We can talk with them and hopefully get that one moved off, because that might take a lot of explanation. So we can go through and see how much of it we can move out. You've got the regular mechanical stuff that we do all the time, like the revolving funds. And if we put all those together, and then whether or not we do the capital items, there's so few, and there's 4 of them, and they're pretty straightforward. I think that meeting could be done in 3 to 4 hours, depending on what happens with the zoning bylaws.
Okay, that's a long time, 3 to 4 hours. And, you know, if it's a hot muggy day, you know, that's a very long time. You know, my concern, my worst fear is that we're going to get halfway through the meeting and it becomes obvious that we're going to have to recess and, you know, and continue at another time. And I'd just like to avoid that, you know, at all costs if possible. So, you know, again, one way of doing that is to limit the warrant, first of all. Certainly grouping articles, I guess it's called a consent agenda. A number of towns use that option. Limiting presentations. I just saw something, I think, on the FinCom agenda for their meeting later tonight about, you know, preparing their presentation. And I think it's going to be important to convey to them and anyone else, a school or anyone else that's planning to do a presentation, to make them as short and concise as possible. Limiting the amount of time that people get to, you know, speak, I think is something that many other towns are doing, and we should consider as well. So, I mean, I was really hoping that, you know, we could get this done in 2 to 3 hours at the most. I think beyond that, we're really risking the, you know, the possibility that we're not going to be able to finish the meeting, especially if the weather erupts.
Something to shorten it possibly in the presentations is all the presentations could be made at certain times over Zoom that would be recorded and put on the town website. And for those people who don't have access to that, when you get your written warrant in the mail, there should be a statement in there that you could get a printed copy sent to you if you don't have access to that information. So all the presentations could be done before the meeting.
Elaine, our plan is not to mail out the budget this year. We don't have the ability to do that. People will have to go online for the budget and the warrant.
What about those people who don't have access?
We can do this, the 90 people, but we're not going to mail to the whole town because we
So
can't.
then the same thing can happen with the presentations that can go to the 90 people.
I think we can talk this through with people who are going to present and really have them be as concise as possible, and maybe frame the meeting at the beginning, you know, like obviously we are working under, you know, difficult conditions in order to do this, and that we really need to be as efficient as possible. And we could get a hook for some people.
I agree, April, but, you know, the budget is complicated. Zoning bylaws are complicated, and we tend to go through those with a fine-tooth comb. So, you know, you can try to limit the length of time for those presentations, but they're still going to take a while. So yeah, I agree with you, Elaine. If we can, as you know, do as much of this in advance as possible, I think that's the way to go. But you know, we're into June already, so you know, these decisions have to be made quickly and they have to be conveyed, and other committees and boards have to get prepared to do that, and then actually have their Zoom meetings in the next 3 weeks.
Susie?
What about having the budget on Saturday, the 27th, and having the zoning ones on Monday or Tuesday?
Break it up.
Because if we get a rain, if Saturday is rained out, then we're kind of under the gun.
We have
We have
3
to
days.
reschedule then. I just did, by the way, pull up the information about the tent. We received it in April. And the quote for a tent that's 40 foot by 120 foot is $2,400.
How many people would that accommodate under these restrictions?
We'd need 3 of those to cover the backspace.
But we only have 124 people that think they're coming, so that's the other parameter.
Right.
That we know they are thinking of coming.
And
Right, we don't-
and
we
it may
don't-
be less if it's hot, right? They'll come in to vote, or if they haven't voted already, and then they'll leave, and you know, the heat to the rest of us.
But there may be people who will attend who haven't answered the survey.
Yeah.
So if we plan for 150 or 160,
Our average that we have at a regular town meeting.
130, 140?
Do you know, Susie?
I think that when we've taken some votes, they're like 100, depends on the topic, you know, so there was 240 for the school formula vote, right? Something around that. But then people leave.
Yeah, but if we plan for 240, I mean, we have to plan for that many at least.
I don't think so, but.
So we don't have to have tents for everybody, obviously. One of the other moderators in the state had actually come up with this little program to calculate how much space you would need for a certain number of people. I ran through that today, and for 200 people, you would need a space of about 10,000 square feet to get everybody, you know, appropriately spaced. And that's with a little bit of a buffer. So I think people are like 7.2 feet apart in those calculations. So a 40 by 100 foot tent is 4,000 square feet, which probably would accommodate maybe about 80 people. That's not bad. Assume, you know, figuring that a lot of other people are going to be sitting out in the sun, or they're going to have their own tents.
Well, and a tent also provides shade where it's not, the shade doesn't stop directly at the end of the tent. It provides shade because of its size, right? So a little bit more than that, than 80 for shade.
So if we can get one, maybe that does make sense to have one tent that would accommodate 80 people, and other people will have to, you know, bring their own shade or be shaded with what's already there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have, you know, the select board, we have the town clerk, we have the
We don't need-
FinCom, we've got me, you know, maybe some of the smaller tents could be used up front for,
We don't need a tent.
okay.
I'll bring my parasol and fan, I'll be fine. Go ahead, Walter.
Just a question, that price, did that include setup and takedown, or is that on us?
Let me check.
What company was it, Elaine?
It was
Michael's?
Michael's.
Michael sets it up, and that usually includes up and down.
Okay,
that's right, you
good.
know these things.
I have been involved in
Amherst
putting
uses them.
that size up, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah, no, they usually include up and down.
You want to confirm that?
Yeah,
But it might be hard to get one at that season.
Right. Well, there's no weddings happening.
there's no weddings, no reunions at colleges that put the tents up for weeks on end. There's no graduations, no graduation parties really. So there may not be so hard to get.
Just a lot of town meetings on that day, I know.
Yeah. Well, if we can't get one, then that answers that. But if we could, that would provide enough shelter for the bulk of the people who would be coming.
And Elaine, what was the company's name again?
Michaels,
Okay.
I'll send you her email right now. I'll send you the
Great.
quote and everything that I got.
Okay.
I'll just forward this to you.
Okay. So it sounds like there's two possibilities, either people are going to be without any shade and they'll have to provide their own. We may be able to provide shelter for up to 80 people. We have the ability to get the sound system, internet, even cell service. So it sounds like we basically have the structure for our town meeting. And we're going to,
And don't forget Impossible Santa can if we think the
right.
town can.
And I certainly will volunteer my time to help with any kind of setup that needs to be done. If we're,
Yeah, I'll have to look at the date. I'll email my boss.
oh, wait a minute. I'll be on the Cape maybe. No, until the 26th. I'm still not sure if that's happening or not. We made these arrangements a long time ago.
I'll check with my boss to see if I can take that Friday off.
I'll check with mine too.
Great. I'll check with mine too.
So I just volunteered you guys. I'll come. Now, what else do you want to do?
Go back to the time frame of how to get the meeting to be closer to 2 to 3 hours instead of 3 to 4. Do we have any more discussion on that?
Yes. Let's look at the warrant. I mean, are there things that we can postpone? The departments or each committee does not, we can post, they don't have to present at town meeting, and that we could save that time. And they can have written reports for the day of town meeting.
I know also that the planning board really wants to get the solar bylaws in place before anything goes further. But what about the other two planning board articles? Could they be postponed for a later meeting?
That's a good
Linda?
idea.
Linda, go ahead.
That would show preference.
What do you mean?
It would show preference for one Article 1 zoning amendment over the other two.
But is there anything wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
That's just my thinking on the subject, that if you weight one over the other two, it shows a preference. That's and just as a reminder, the planning board will be holding a public hearing, a virtual public hearing on the zoning bylaw amendments on the 22nd.
So far we can eliminate we can not do Article 1. Have that done either virtually or written.
Aren't we not going to have materials, written materials? I mean, isn't that like not a good plan to have any written materials to hand out?
Oh,
That's a good question.
good question. Are other towns, Paul, having written materials?
A lot of them are avoiding that just so that, people are not handling things any more than necessary.
Can we ask people to bring their laptops or devices so they can read things online?
Or just, have distributed everything in advance so that they can, or make it available so they can print it out themselves and bring it.
Right.
Yeah,
Either
put
way.
it on the homepage for, print for town meeting. Yeah.
And then there's a small number of people who don't have access.
Right.
Um,
I suppose if you're going to have handouts, you'd rather than having them out for people to peruse, you could have a packet, you just hand one to one person, or they grab it, one to one person. You know what I'm saying? Rather than if you need to have some, rather than having them go through all different pages, just have one made up and it's just one packet. They get everything. They're not able to choose what pages they want. You just, here's your town meeting packet and leave it at that.
The risk of infection that way is extremely tiny.
Becky, were
So-
you saying that we would not have any, the budget and the warrant would not be printed at all?
You're
Can't hear you.
muted.
Becky, we can't hear you.
Sorry, the alarm was going off at the police. I said that we can't have we're not going to do a townwide mailing. We can't do one.
Right, but
So
are you
if
not
we-
printing things?
I'm sorry?
Are you not printing things though?
If I need to mail to the 90 people, I'll have to print those. I'm really, really encouraging people to go online. Because
I mean, going online and looking at the warrant and looking at the budget, but then coming to town meeting without it. I mean, not everybody has a printer. I really
And
think that we need.
almost
that.
nobody, yeah, and the amount of people that go line by line through the budget, I mean, I think Paul was
Unless it was.
one out of 5 people. Paul and Jan Stone are the only ones who do it.
And I won't be this year, right?
And you can't.
Well, in a different way.
Yeah. I think we can only go so far. I mean, we can have everything available online 2 weeks ahead, and people need to do their homework.
Well, then that really it reinforces the idea of needing a booster and encouraging people to bring their own devices so they can read it. I wouldn't be comfortable with people not having that information in front of them when they're voting.
Well, that's why I said, we'd make 20 or 30 available. And if it's, they've gotten the preview of it, they've had the opportunity to go to hearings. Finance Committee will likely do a hearing as well. And if they still have questions after the hearings, they'll raise them at town meeting. But I think if people have the option to print out what they need or read about it or bring their iPhones with them and be able to get access, the majority of people will have access. And then we print out, I'll do 120 so that we have another 30 and we can put them together in a packet, like Melissa suggested.
Yeah, just hand a packet. And that way you're handing one thing, you're not touching hands. Right?
Yeah.
And Catherine seemed to think that was okay.
I don't think we would have any objection to that.
It's like grabbing a receipt at the grocery store, right?
Sure.
You're not in that much of a, it's a quick thing. But not having where people can mull around and pick things off the table like we traditionally do.
Right.
Yeah, the framework of this is it's going to be very, very different. It just has to be.
The goal should be to keep things as consistent as possible, even though a lot is going to be different. So, the more everything can be familiar to people and normal, the more legitimacy and credibility the whole meeting's going to have.
Good point.
So I think if my clock is correct, we got about 15 minutes before we have to end this. So just
10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay. So couple things. One is, there's still, I'm thinking of all the individual steps that still need to happen between now and the meeting time. And I'm wondering if it makes sense to form a little subcommittee of people. I think Walter needs to be involved. You know, I think Dan needs to be involved. Catherine probably. I'd like to be, and you know, whoever else among the rest of you would like to be. But you know, I think it would be good for a smaller group to be meeting, viewing the space, thinking about, you know, running through exactly how it's all going to work. What do we need? How do we set things up? You know, so I guess I'm proposing that we set up a small committee that will
Sounds like a
carry this
working
forward.
group.
Sure. And there's lots of work to do. So does that sound okay? Are people in
I'll
favor of that?
volunteer to be the select board person who's on that.
Thank you, Elaine.
Walter, you're in?
Yeah, I'm in on that too.
I'd like to be in it.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. Who's
I would
that?
like to be in it.
Susie?
Susie.
Catherine, you are,
Yes, indeed.
and Dan will need to be involved at times at least. So, I don't know, Becky, could you talk to him? Is he still with us?
Talk to me. I'm still
Oh,
with you.
you're
Siri,
still
be
there.
my phone.
You are now iPhone Dan, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a weird iPhone kind of person.
You look great.
Yeah, it's that silhouette. I've been working on that for a long time.
I know.
It's an image thing for me.
So Paul, do you want to set a date or a date and time to do this? Let's get started.
Yes, do you want me to at least kick it off and then we'll maybe assign an actual coordinator perhaps when we meet the first time?
Paul,
Yes,
I'm sorry, because typically all this stuff ends up on my lap
Yep.
usually, and now we have a working group that I'm not on. I'm a little
well, you could be.
Oh, you could be, Becky. No
Yeah.
one's excluding you.
You want to be?
Now we have 7 people in a working group. I'm not getting it. I'm not getting how this is going to work.
Well, it's just not very efficient to have posted meetings and try to get a whole lot done in terms of the planning. So, you know, I think the planning has to happen outside of these meetings. That's my feeling.
Yeah, the nitty gritty.
On the field where we don't need a quorum of people and it doesn't need to be a posted meeting.
And there's
Right.
no voting really that needs to happen, right? After,
Mhm.
And we could have you on speakerphone.
that's true.
I
Yeah,
think
I think I need to be with the group because at the end of the day, I've already been visualizing how to put this together with Susie. So I need to be able to know what's happening.
Sure.
Fine with me.
Susie?
I would suggest in the past, what we've had is the town clerk, the moderator, and the town administrator do this initial sketching out. And then when we need to connect to the other people whose services will be integral, then we can expand it. So starting off with 3 and then moving it along.
Sounds reasonable.
That's fine
Well-
with me. Okay, we'll do that.
I guess some of us have already viewed the sites and some haven't. So just to bring everybody together, you want to make sure everybody, maybe have an initial meeting with everybody so everybody checks out the site and is on the same page.
But you can have a site visit without having a posted meeting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not a,
Well, you don't have a group. You don't have a quorum of anybody.
right.
Okay, so the group that we already have volunteered can go out there. All right, Paul, you name the date and
Okay, I will get back to people really soon about that.
okay.
The other thing that I just wanted to mention before we're done here is, you know, the whole communication thing. I mean, we've talked a number of times already about, you know, what we'll have to tell townspeople and so forth, what to bring and what to expect and what to print out and what meetings to zoom into and so forth. And, you know, I keep mentioning this every time we meet, but I just want to make sure that we have really good communication and use, you know, whatever channels we have available to us to do that.
I think you're right, Paul. I think on the homepage, maybe we start with a section that's just a town meeting related information, and there's things that are there, links and documents and all that start to accumulate as they start to be finished and ready. You know, so one stop shopping right on the front page.
And go through the town announce to remind people to go there.
Yep. And rather than trying to reiterate it in town announce, just have the town announce pointing in that direction with the link to the homepage in the town announce. So you don't have to keep redoing the information over and over. Just a simple town announce. Please here to find all the information for a town meeting. And then if there's significant, we send out another one in a couple days before, remind people through town announce again. Remember, you're going to need to view this information prior to town meeting. Again with the link.
Yep.
How about press coverage? Do we have any effective press coverage in town these days? No. With Scott when we need him, huh?
Could we give a press release to the newspaper announcing what we're doing?
I'd be
Well-
willing to call Scott and let him know.
I mean, almost every evening there's an article about some town in the area about what they're planning for their town meeting this year. So
Yeah. I'd be happy to talk to him if anybody wants to help me pull together something to write. Or I could start it and you guys could take a look at it. Review it.
Mhm.
Okay. Yep. On that note, I also, before we lose our timing here, I just want to get to that last issue on our agenda.
Yes, I would too. Yeah.
Yep.
Now that Dan's here, Dan, I wanted to offer to start writing a letter that comes from the select board and the police department as to issues that related to what's been happening across the country with the demonstrations and our feelings towards racial inequities, et cetera. And I would be willing to start that letter that comes from the select board and the police chief, and I will circulate it to everyone. And if you would, you can't send it to me to edit. So I'm sorry, Becky, but we'll have to send it to you.
That's fine. That'd be
Send
great.
edits to
Yeah.
you. Send edits to Becky.
I have a question. This is a question. If it was a Google Doc, could we all go in and make edits to it? As long as we weren't talking about them?
I don't know how to do Google Docs.
Okay, that's
Okay.
Okay.
I've tried Google Docs. I failed miserably. I can try again if needed.
No, it's okay.
But
Don't
I
worry
have to,
about it.
Dan, your response to the citizen who brought up some very important points, I thought was very well written. And
Yes.
I think that the select board needs to amplify that.
I agree. And I really appreciate your timeliness on your response.
Yeah.
And
Well, thank you. I think it is important. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think she was surprised at my response and how quickly, but I mean, that's my job. So,
yeah, and
not a
I
huge deal.
want to make sure that everyone hears that opinion and what we're saying and what we're doing.
okay. Well, just let me know what I can do to help. I
Okay.
think actually, her and I had another email back and forth today. And I believe my suggestion, she asked if she could talk to the police department, and my suggestion was a Zoom meeting of some sort with whoever she'd like, so we can get some, questions and answers and kind of, have an open forum about it. So I suggested to her that we can do that as a police department, or just me even. So she has not emailed me back yet, but that was something I brought up to her today.
And could we send out this letter from the select board? How do we do that? Just so we're not having to do another mailing, could we put that on town announce, or put it on town announce to look for that letter somehow to?
I think we start, maybe this is a good example of where you start saying there's the select board has posted a letter online. Here's the link to back to the website.
I think we also should see if the newspaper would publish it as a editorial.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we should start with town announce, even just pushing people back to the website as a place to find information, letting them know through that. But then, and that way, when we use it for town meeting, it will be a standard method.
I'll have that ready for you by noon tomorrow to look at. So look for your email. And Dan, your email, I can send it to police chief. That gets to you?
It's police.chief@shutesbury.org.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And that goes, that goes right to my phone and my email at work, so I'm able to get it right away.
Okay, great.
All right. Anything else anyone has to share, or concerns, questions, or such?
Recipes.
Nope.
As Chris says, recipes. Favorite color, whatever.
I have a nice beet recipe if anybody's interested.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's very good.
Paul has something.
Beet?
Yeah,
Something to say.
Oh,
Like the vegetable?
Oh, yes.
Just like the vegetable.
April, do you have any chocolate chip cookie recipes?
They all have beets in them, but I think Paul has
They
something
all
he's
have
tried.
beets in 'em. Oh my God.
Paul's trying to say something. What do you want, Paul?
biding my time. Will any of you be at the FinCom meeting tonight? I'm just wondering if it might be a good opportunity to stress to them that, they're not going to be able to do their regular presentation at town meeting this year necessarily.
it is pretty short.
I can do that, and I can also talk to them about, doing a Zoom, setting up like a budget hearing ahead of time, because I think if they have that opportunity, then the budget can be faster. I think some things have to be said at town meeting, but if they're done succinctly, just not too in depth. They're working on their annual report too, so that'll be available for the public.
Great. And Becky, can you send me the current version of the warrant fairly soon?
The current version will just freak you out because it's the one that went to Donna just to make sure she approves all the articles, and then I'm going to condense them. Okay, so don't get alarmed at the 32 articles, Paul.
Oh. Okay.
It's quite a face.
Yeah, it'll be condensed and combined. I just need everything reviewed by her when I send it. But I made a little tool so you can keep track of the condensing and combining on a spreadsheet.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
So don't panic. Okay, anything else? The thing is, I can't start the FinCom meeting till I end this one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, how sad.
Sorry.
Bye.
Bye.
Adjourn.
Bye.
Motion to adjourn. Elaine?
Okay. Bye.
Oh, well.
Whoop. Shutting you all